Hello, this is Brian Whitten and E.T. Art. How are you today? I'm coming back to make another video. I make it a short one today, at least from the point of view of talking. I wanted to add on and make this part 4 of the Nuclear Holocaust series. Those of you who have been to my channel before would have seen the last 4 videos have been related to planting of nuclear bombs by the elite in Sydney, Paris, New York, London, Mediterranean, Perth. Today we'll discuss Adelaide and the Great Australian Bight here again. Before I move on, I want you to look at this image here. This is at the bottom of South America. It is the first major impact that caused the tilt of the Earth's axis. It happened 6,000 years ago, and it is known by our global elites, our Masons and the European royals that is the case. They also know that when it comes back to standing straight naturally, in other words when it gets to a point in time during the cycle of Earth around Sun, there comes a day where it straightens naturally very, very quickly. It takes 33 minutes. We all die in the first seconds of the first minute. You may doubt that. The line A that I showed you in this diagram, here is the other side of the globe with the very same line A drawn directly through the middle of Uluru. They know full well what I'm telling you is truth, and they have had years to come forward with the truth. Now if we could come back to the TV screen now, and I will explain to you, and the reason I wanted to show you that is that when I'm looking at this, we're looking at a microscopic image off a river rock. The messages are only visible when you use an external light source, and obviously follow the instructions as to what direction to hold the rock at and what direction to point the light and all such things. You cannot get this result with a bifocal digital microscope that costs $1,000. I know I bought one. You can see them only, the messages, using a greater majority with an external light source, but it has to be a cheap USB $30 microscope that allows you to see the messages. I wanted to start with those 2 images of the Great Australian Bight, or the impact in the Great Australian Bight, because I wanted to come back to this image. Now I've put this in was Perth to be nuked video, I believe, of what we're getting told in this message, and I will show you a few things on it and why I say so, or why I believe that's the case, is we're actually seeing certain ships, naval vessels get depicted, and also have the Great Australian Bight. So I'll point out things to you, but I will install an image of this very image so you'll get as good a quality as what I see. I know photographing my television is a little bit more difficult, but it does make it easier for me to point out things that I want to point out to you. And I was saying to you that in this picture we see a swan's head here being like so, and its eye. In this light it doesn't quite give you that, but you do when you move the light around. Varying things occur, and in this instance I've just stopped here because what I wanted to show you was the case that it was an actual fact dealing with Perth nuclear weapons here. We see the swan here because that's actually the emblem and the national emblem of the West Australia, which is why the swan's there. And the main river that goes through Perth is called the Swan River. What we're seeing here is a depiction of the Great Australian Bight down and around the West Australian coast. We have an F written over here, we have a dot written here, and a dot written here to tell us that there were 2 nuclear bombs placed here and here. I've covered in my other video, I won't go back and repeat myself today, that these nuclear bombs are shown that they're a nuclear bomb because there is an explosion here when you get to the point of having the light the right way, and when this whole image is turned upside down you get a tsunamis washing across cities. So that's all in the Perth video. I won't go back and do that. The reason I wanted to come here and explain this today was just to move on from this point. So I'm going to show you a couple of older images and then I'll show you a couple of new ones. I'm going to move this up here so that you can see that this is where we're getting the shadow of a ship, a warship here, And you know you got it in the right place because all these other things light up once you've got it in the light in the right place, because you're moving the light around the outside of a microscope to get these messages visible. We see an R here written very clearly, and it comes up as telling us this shape of this vessel here is in actual fact a royal vessel, in other words a royal naval vessel, I would imagine from England. It doesn't have H in front of it. I would expect the Queen possibly didn't know what they had in mind, and then maybe she does, I don't know. You'd have to ask her. She certainly knows the Earth was standing up straight like this and going around the Sun in a clockwise direction 6,000 years ago. That she does know. What I wanted to show you here when I move in here is you can see a cord getting chucked across here. That's how they move between different vessels at sea when they are naval vessels. We see the front of this one down here is like so because it's an aircraft carrier. That's why it's there like that. There is also another one in here. It's a submarine. This is marking up here where the transfer of these nuclear weapons between these vessels took place right here in the Great Australian Bight, which is why it's marked. Over here we see an F off the Fremantle coast, right there, and we see a dot there and a dot there, saying there was one out in the ocean and another one placed back in the city. I've gone through that in Perth Nukes. I don't want to spend too much time with that, but I just wanted to cover this to show you that we're seeing the Great Australian Bight here. I also discussed with you in the Sydney to be nuked video the rock image that I had that showed me, in my opinion, I saw these sails like this and I thought that's talking about the Opera House there. And I've gone through in my Sydney to be nuked video and showed you where and how I found this image here, which is a sonar off Collins Point in Sydney Harbour, west of the bridge. And the only way this, not in this one so much, but this one here, is in actual fact a sunken boat. I'll show you the image again here. It's in the deepest part of the ocean west of the bridge, just like the rock says. I didn't know about it. I found the rock, and that's what made me go and look, and found, like I said, a sonar of the Sydney Harbour which had this boat west of the bridge and west of the Opera House sails. I also showed you the following. The very same part of the rock, now with the light slightly changed, has now showed us that the boat is almost gone, but we are now seeing the delivery device. We've got a submarine here. I'm going to move in and zoom in a bit here, because now what we're seeing here is we're on the sails are on the other side. So we're now on the eastern side of the Opera House, and this here is depicting the bay that is the next one around from there. The next bay around from the Opera House is in actual fact Garden Island. I'll zoom out again on that picture now, and now we're seeing what device it was that delivered or picked up the nukes and placed them in that boat. And here we have the bow of the sub, the top, the open hatch, a guy sitting there, and the back of the submarine here, and that's the submarine's body. I strongly suggest you go and look at Sydney to be nuked video, and I will go through that in greater detail there. I just wanted to show you that again. Yet again, we have the same thing. And then the question was, who owned the sub? Who owned all these bits and pieces? We know that there was a royal vessel. We also know that there's an aircraft carrier in the Great Australian Bight, but Australia does not own them. Last week I showed you this picture, which I said I believed has told us exactly what I needed to tell you. In other words, confirm something that I knew or confirm something that I suspected. There was a US warship that came into our harbour in mid-2020 when Donald Trump was the President of the US. The boat itself came in at night time and was docked at Garden Island in the morning already, because I heard it on the radio and they said they were really surprised at the fact that in actual fact somebody had showed up. or that the boat had showed up without any notification. It was already at the wharf at 8 AM in the morning, so it had come in at night time. I believe this was telling us exactly that. Well, in this picture here, from here across there, and in here we see a black submarine here. Above there is the boat itself. It's scattered light because the clear image is right here looking at this point. This is above the water because the boat is scattered light. In other words, it's above the water level. The boat came in at night time here, but it's also the part of this woman's fancy hat. And this submarine is pointing backwards here at this lady's face because she's showing you that this is a really, really fancy hat. She's got heavily made up eyes, red lipstick. She's a movie star. Where do they come from? The West Coast, which is where that submarine and the nuclear weapons were bought from. And I also showed you this inserted image here in my most recent video about where we go one, we go all, and nuclear holocaust was the leader's plan. That is exactly what the situation is. They have brought these nuclear weapons in a US sub and placed them in that boat west of Sydney Harbour Bridge. The thing was, as they would have, I said I believe that happened in mid-2020. In other words, under Trump's administration. But that was, you know, we couldn't assess that from here. So what I did was I put another rock under the microscope. One I've shown you before, I will show you again. Now the other reason why I showed you the start of those images of Great Australian Bight and the nuclear bombs that have been dropped there by the British for the last 50 to 60 years with their nuclear explosion directly below Uluru on the very same line as Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That's why I came back here, because this rock has actually got exactly what we're seeing here as the bottom of the Great Australian Bight. It's the other reason why I showed you the microscopic image of the very same thing. It's the very same thing. It's not just me saying that's what it is, it's what it's supposed to represent. Here we have Port Augusta and Port Pirie in these portions here. I've shown you this before in a couple of other videos, but I wanted to come back here and I saw something on this some months back and I thought I might go back there and have a look. And so the next few images I'm going to show you are of this rock in this portion here, and I will show you just a couple, and then at the end I'm going to actually put the video in that the next lot of images come from. So what's happened here, before I move on, Donald Trump in December 2020 had a press conference in front of a landscape business which was next door to a sex shop. It was on ABC radio over here, and it was also on YouTube, but people wondered why. If you had watched my channel to now, I've said that what they need to do, these are the people that come back here, the people that left the pyramids, the people that left all the messages on the rocks here, so that we know what's going down. They come back and they make the earth stand up straight again a lot slower than the 33 minutes it takes, because I can assure you that is what the message reads, which is why all those nuclear bombs are where they were. It's the top 2% lying to the 3 and 4%. And then as we go down our pyramidal structure to us, a lot at the bottom, the lies have just gotten bigger and bigger. They may have painted themselves into a point where, well, I don't know, in Trump's, President Trump, or former President Trump, would appear to be that he can't live without wanting wealth and a stature gained by printed paper. But anyway, I'll move on. His meeting at that location was there for exactly that reason. The land masses have to be moved and lifted off the crust of Earth to help the planet stand up straight. Second thing that needs to happen is that once it's standing up straight and the moon is no longer cycling Earth but cycling the sun, Caucasian races do no longer breed. There are others affected as well, but probably 90% of the elite in our world are in actual fact Caucasians. Trump is one, and I would expect it looks like they weren't prepared to live without being the holders of wealth in the world they were going to live in. Now I'm going to go through a few stills from the video that I'm going to add on at the end of this. Okay, so I'm going to show these so you have a quick chat, and then you can go back and look at the video that these images that I show you now come from. And what you'll see is they've told us exactly who it was that was behind this submarine. It's not so clear in this one, which is why I said I will add the video and I will go through some more, and you'll see this be Donald Trump's image here, which is why they've put a nice T here to let you know who he is. And this one here would possibly be Boris, but I'll let you decide that. Certainly it seems to me without doubt, because the submarine is here when you see it at its most clearest, and you do see other things happen in the video over that side, but certainly he is right behind the submarine, which is saying Donald Trump was behind the submarines and behind the placement of the nuclear weapons. So I'll vary these, and as you can see, the light changes the image ever so slightly when you're changing the angle to get who it is that's behind it. Once again, like I said, you can see points where the submarine is far more clear and Donald Trump may not be, but it's pretty obvious that's who it is. And like I said, it's nice of him to draw a T there so we couldn't confuse him with somebody else. He has had more than 4 years, as has the Prime Minister of my country and the Queen of England and all such people. I'm putting this here today so you'll know why he disappears, because he will. He's going to be one of the blokes that just disappears off this planet's surface, and now you'll know why. He was going to, because he didn't want to live in a world where his money, that's what this man idolises, it's money. So that's why you had the, here we go, where we go one, we go all rubbish, and the white hat rubbish has been generated by this very man. Just as the vaccine was, it was untested, it's killed millions. This guy here, he comes out with a Wuhan lab story now being in September, because I uploaded on my own content on my Facebook page the very fact that the Wuhan outbreak came out the month after I uploaded a video stating about Caucasians not being able to breed, because that's exactly what happened, and he was the man behind that as well. So I would expect, we're seeing on this side sometimes a face, I don't worry about it here, but you will see it in the video. You'll see this face here as a military person with a helmet on, telling you it's a US military because it's shaped like their helmet. That is how they leave the messages on. They leave messages certain ways so you can understand exactly what it's talking about. That one there, the sub's a fair bit more clearer. But when you play the video, you'll come, like I said, even doing this, it is nowhere near as clear as the video, so I'll tack it on to the end of the video. And that's all I'm going to say today, because this is my 88th video on this channel, ET Arts channel, which is the irony. But that's exactly who the rock is saying is behind the submarine and the nuclear bombs being placed all around Australia in our Australian cities. Compliments of Donald Trump. What a great guy. What a gutless bastard. That's what I believe. A gutless, mongrel dog killing millions because he couldn't fess up to the story and the truth of mankind's history on this planet, and couldn't live in a world where his money was going to buy what he wanted. Where he's going, he will buy nothing. Where he's going, unless the rest of you guys that are going to protect this bloke's backside and everybody else that's like him, if you keep protecting him, you'll be going as well. Make no mistake, when these people get taken, you better move fast or you'll be going as well. That's all from ET Art and Brian Winton today. Have a nice day and enjoy your stay in the Valley of the Kings, Mr. Trump. It's going to be a long, long stay.